Number 15, the Kiwi Creepo. Down in New Zealand, a 13-year-old student, Ria MacLeod, was drawn into a lurid relationship with her 42-year-old teacher, Sam Back. One of the creepiest aspects of this case is that Back's wife, Angela Mempham, knew about the relationship and called the three of them a little family. It all started with some texting. Back and MacLeod began messaging each other on their phones and through email. Thousands of messages were exchanged and they became increasingly intimate over time. In one message, Back told his student that he wished he could climb into her window and express how glad I am that you are here. Mempham, who is also a teacher, said that the relationship grew intense and MacLeod had become emotionally reliant on her husband. The scandalous relationship was initiated by Back, who sent the young girl a love letter and said that they could have a sleepover at his house if she covered all of her bases. She subsequently had 7 sleepovers. Back's wife claims that MacLeod had a troubled home life and mental health issues, which, in Mempham's opinion, were reason enough for her to find solace under her teacher's roof. On one occasion, when the three of them were discovered by police in a parked car, Mempham stated that the girl began digging her fingernails into Mempham's arms and hyperventilating in the footwell of the car. She was the most inconsolable I have ever seen a human being, Mempham said. These statements come upon the inquest into the passing of MacLeod, who took her life in 2014. About her husband and the scandal, Mempham said, "I'm not upset at his choices. He's a good man, a very good man, and only does things for the goodness of others." MacLeod's father, however, disagrees. He had really worked on her and developed a strange bond. He's an absolute mongrel. I'll try to be dignified, but these teachers are. I can't really say what they are. Mr. MacLeod might not be able to say what they are, but we will. They are absolute creeps. Number 14, TWB. One student-teacher relationship that's creepy on both ends involves teaching assistant Brianne Altice and her 17-year-old student who described Altice as a teacher with benefits, formerly employed at Davis High School in Utah. Altice faced 9 felony charges for having inappropriate relations with not 1, not 2, but 3 of her students. One of the teens testified that the relationship took place when he was 16. The abuse started with kissing during breaks between class and ultimately led to more in the student's home in Farmington. Altice confessed to engaging in intercourse with the student on 2 separate occasions, but her attorney claimed that she was coerced into the confession through the intimidation of 8 to 10 male police officers who interrogated her on the matter. Altice alleged that the officers denied her an attorney and, during the 4-hour interrogation, didn't allow her to take care of her children or use the bathroom. However, it was revealed during the trial that the relations with one of her victims continued even after she'd been arrested. The teacher pleaded not guilty, with her attorney arguing that Altice was preyed upon by the student and did not use her position of power to victimize him. However, Utah law declares that if a person is in a position of special trust, then the age does not matter. The victim cannot consent. She was given a 30-year sentence, and since being sent to prison, has confessed being extremely remorseful for her crimes and has chalked them up to self-esteem issues. "They said this and that and made me feel good about myself," she said at a hearing. "So I justified everything. There's no justification for it." She continued, "This was my doing. This was no one else's fault but my own. This was not my ex-husband's fault, or the school's fault, or my students' fault. I regret the decisions I made that brought us here." Number 13, Creeper of Queens. 44-year-old Charles Oros, a married social studies teacher in Queens, was discovered to be having an inappropriate relationship with his 13-year-old student. Oros was arrested when an anonymous caller reported the indecent relationship to the police. The intimacy had been going on for over a year and a half. When investigators first interviewed the victim, she confirmed that she and Oros had first engaged in his classroom in January 2009, before having intercourse in late June 2009. The investigative report states that the relationship lasted until at least March of the following year. It wasn't until August that Richard Condon, the Special Commissioner of Investigation, was tipped off about the creepy teacher-student relationship. The caller claimed that Oros's wife had informed the caller about the affair. Oros was charged and sentenced to a laughable 6 months. Number 12, the Village Liaison. 28-year-old Nina Scott, a teacher at Philadelphia's The Village School for Troubled Youth, regarding her conduct with a 16-year-old student. Scott wrote over 30 letters to the girl, pushing for an inappropriate relationship that lasted 8 months. The student initiated the relationship by giving Scott a note that asked her if she would tell anyone if the girl kissed her. The teacher replied that she would tell no one, and so they kissed in the classroom. Their relationship developed from there. It was only discovered when the student's journal was read during an inspection at the youth services facility she she was living in. She wrote that Scott was good in bed and the love of my life. Scott was charged with 68 counts for her actions. Number 11, Forrest and Stammers. 15-year-old Megan Stammer's case was one that woke Sophie up to her abuse. The schoolgirl was declared missing on September 20th, 2012. She had been last seen with her 30-year-old math teacher, Jeremy Forrest, taking a ferry to France. Bishop Bell School was aware that something was going on between the pair and were criticized for not informing Stammer's family about the situation before investigating. In fact, the student and teacher may have been involved for at least 8 months, as reports say a source told the school that the two had been holding hands on a school trip to LA in February. The teacher's father, Jim, may have played some part in the safe return of the student to her family, as the media coverage of his statement he made, along with all other coverage of the abduction, was played across all French news channels. In his statement, Jim Forrest addressed the pair. "I hope this message reaches you and you are both okay. There are a lot of people back home that are desperate to hear from you. All I am asking is for one of you to make a call, send an email, so we know you are both safe. We are all here for you both. Please get in contact." Although they didn't call home, the pair were caught in Bordeaux, running through the main high street to get to a job interview. Forrest was put behind bars on child abduction charges. Stammers was taken into child protection. Number 10, Vista Ridge Creeper. 31-year-old Jay Edgley's wife notified the police of her husband's relationship with an underage student at Vista Ridge High School in Cedar Park. The former Vista Ridge teacher allegedly had an affair with an 18-year-old student. Police worked together with the LISD to investigate the matter and discovered inappropriate pictures of the victim on her teacher's computer, as well as lewd conversations between the pair on Twitter. After resigning from his position as a computer science teacher at LISD in June 2016, Edgley was arrested at Houston Airport following travel abroad. He faced up to 20 years for his crime, but police allege Edgley may have had inappropriate liaisons with students at both LISD and Round Rock High School. Sergeant Christopher Daly of the Cedar Park Police Department said, "If there is a victim out there, we're hoping that through the source of media that we're going to be able to reach them and that they're willing to come forward and share their story with us." Number 9, 50 Shades of Creepy. A creative writing class turned into a creepy writing class when 24-year-old Thomas Sterling was discovered texting his 17-year-old student explicit messages about the novel 50 Shades of Grey, which they'd been reading together in a comparative analysis to Macbeth, according to Sterling. Sterling's girlfriend, who at 18 years old was just a year older than the student, discovered the messages on her boyfriend's Instagram account. Sterling taught creative writing in Grimsby at Franklin College. During the course of grooming his student, he also sent lewd photos and referred to the student's virginity in their texts. He claims to have written to the young girl with an element of fantasy, but confessed to their inappropriate relations between September 1st, 2015 and November 17th, 2015. His lawyer, Patricia Daughtry, claimed that Sterling fully understood he was in the wrong and that he could no longer be trusted to teach. However, according to Daughtry, issues in his past made him believe he could help the girl, although how reading 50 Shades and texting a vulnerable student could help her is under severe scrutiny. As is usual with cases like this, Sterling somehow became a victim in the exchange, referencing the student's near legal age. Daughtry argued, had these messages started later, then he would not be in the dock and his life would have never been ruined, as it has been. Surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, if you're paying attention to light sentences in similar cases, such as Brock Turner's case that received nationwide attention last year in the US, Sterling was given no jail time and only 15 days rehabilitation, as well as forced participation in an offenders treatment program. He will also be a registered offender for 5 years and is no longer teaching. No doubt every parent across the world is breathing a sigh of relief. Number 8, The Room. This entry was submitted to Gawker, delivered in the first person. The student alleges that she hooked up with a married professor at an East Coast university. The professor, who was visiting from California, claimed he was in an open marriage. His wife was back in California. According to the student, the professor seemed fun and normal at first, playing guitar in class, being friendly with everyone. That is, until one day he called her into his office. He said he needed to talk about her failing midterm grade, but she quickly discovered he had an ulterior motive. Rather than discuss the midterm, he went into a long discussion about his difficult childhood, saying he could see that she got poetry. He altered her grade to an A, and then the flirting began. Although the young woman thought he was creepy, She said she was sort of into the taboo-ness of it. When the semester was over, she passed the class with flying colors, and Professor Creepo proceeded to invite her to bubble tea. Over bubbles, he proposed a carnal relationship. The student accepted the invitation to dinner at his house. While chatting, Professor Creepo revealed that he had a purple velvet-covered room in his home that was pretty much something out of 50 Shades of Grey. The girl claims he told her that she'd learned to like the room. After having relations, Professor Creepo confessed to the student that he'd been lying about the open marriage. He definitely cheated on his wife, and now he was worried about whether the girl had HIV. He asked her repeatedly if she did. The student was relieved when he left for California the following day, but that wasn't the end of it. A year later, Professor Creepo called her, but she was no longer into the taboo-ness of it. Number 7. Mary Kay and Villy. One student-teacher scandal that rocked the world was the 1997 affair between the 34-year-old Seattle teacher, Mary Kay Letourneau, and her 13-year-old student, Villy Falalu. During the scandal, Mary was married with 4 children, with one more on the way after Villy impregnated her. This is when the pair went public with their relationship, which sent Mary to prison for 7.5 years. However, this creepy teacher-student relationship didn't end the way most do. 20 years later, and Villy is now 31, Mary is 53, and they've been married for more than 10 years. They have 2 daughters who are now older than their father was when his relationship with Mary began. How did that creepy relationship begin? According to Mary, it began emotionally when she helped Villy develop his talent for drawing in middle school. Then their bond turned inappropriate. By late summer, she was pregnant. It wasn't until her husband found a love letter Mary had written to Villy that the relationship was reported to the police. After giving birth and serving 6 months in prison, Mary was given parole but ordered to keep away from Villy. However, she didn't follow the court order and was sent back to prison within a month. Not only that, but she was pregnant with Villy's second child. In an interview with Barbara Walters, Mary defended their relationship, saying if it wasn't strong enough in the beginning, it wouldn't have carried through those years. However, although his relationship with his teacher resulted in long-term commitment, Villy realizes that the age gap is not just creepy, but criminal. I don't support younger kids being married or having a relationship with someone older, he said. I don't support it. Number 6. The Lockhart Lover. A more recent creepy teacher-student relationship allegedly happened in the great state of Texas. Sarah Folks, a science teacher at Lockhart High School, was suspended from her job after being arrested for inappropriate behavior with a student. The school called Child Protective Services and Lockhart police when they learned about the relationship. The 27-year-old teacher was accused of engaging in inappropriate contact with her 17-year-old student, which is a second-degree felony. According to the student, Folks messaged him and was in direct contact with him. Her grinning mugshot is one of the most disturbing aspects of the story. Although some might say she appears to have no remorse about her abuse, her attorney claims that she was smiling because she's innocent. You've got a young lady who was arrested on the statement of a 17-year-old kid with no corroborating evidence. This isn't a guilty person sitting there like they just got caught, said her attorney Jason Nasser. When everything's fleshed out, it won't be as it appears. Although 17 is the age of consent in Texas, it's illegal for persons in power to have this kind of relationship with a student, no matter the age. Number 5. The Facebook Friend. Chadwin Reynolds, a teacher in the Bronx, just wanted to be Facebook friends with his students, but only his female students. In fact, he friended 6 or 7 of them. That's when he started using Facebook for creeping. He commented on the girls' photos, "This is sexy," and other inappropriate messages. He found one of the teen girl's phone numbers and brought her candy, flowers, and a stuffed animal. If that wasn't creepy enough, his Facebook profile tagline read, "I'm not a gynecologist, but I'll take a look inside." The 37-year-old told media that it wasn't true that he'd been let go, despite the fact that the Department of Education said otherwise. Number 4. Unprosecuted. In many cases, the students in these creepy teacher-student relationships have no idea that what their abuser is doing is manipulative and illegal. Sophie is one of these cases. Although Sophie had long felt anger about the teacher who groomed and abused her when she was 17 years old, she didn't understand the weight of the abuse until she read about another girl's teacher-student relationship. Only then did she consider bringing charges against her abuser, who was still a teacher at a prestigious private school close to her home. "He ruined me," she told The Guardian. "I was naive and innocent. He was perverse, aggressive, and sickening, but I was infatuated. He was this older man. All the girls fancied him. The teacher was 25 at the time of the abuse in 1992. He tutored her, and she often stayed over at his house. Sophie's parents knew about the relationship. The oppressive relationship was up and down. He broke up with her and then talked her into starting up again when she was in university. When he broke it off again, Sophie's whole life collapsed. She dropped out and began to self-destruct. Unfortunately, Sophie won't see justice, as the teacher in question won't see prosecution for the harm he did to a student. The indecent relationship that changed her life was legal at the time, because the age of consent was 16. He told me he was in love with me, but then he crushed me until I was a complete emotional wreck, Sophie said. He was obsessively possessive, and I was completely under his thumb. I had been this bubbly, strong, and independent teenager. He destroyed me. Number 3, baby daddy. Something's in the water in Texas. Yet another creepy teacher-student relationship at a middle school in the Lone Star State. 27-year-old Catherine Harper was accused of having an inappropriate relationship with her 15-year-old student. According to legal documents, Harper is accused of exchanging more than 80 texts over the course of their inappropriate relationship, including lewd photos, as well as having relations with the students at both his and her homes. The boy told authorities they also drank together. Now, Harper is 8 months pregnant, and it's uncertain whether the student or her husband is the father. After learning about the matter through the grapevine, a school official questioned the student about the relationship, and he started crying. He told the official about the couple's conduct, saying, "One thing led to another, and she told me to put it in, and I did. Hopefully the boy is not Catherine's baby daddy." Number 2, creepy Kyle. No, Kyle is not another male creeper. She's female. And 46-year-old mother of 3, Kyle D'Amato Kushel, is a super creepy female teacher at that. She allegedly had relations with 2 pupils, one of them as often as nearly every night for 2 years at her home. Kyle allegedly had relations with a 13-year-old boy in her husband's man cave, after which he entered the home in the middle of the night through a window Kyle left unlocked for him. According to the boy, the relations were always unprotected, and he impregnated Kyle once, but she miscarried. The boy's 16-year-old friend was also victimized by Kyle. Only when her husband heard noises and thought burglars had entered his home did police catch the pair. Kyle faced 7 counts in total. She turned down a plea deal of up to 4 years in prison, not the sharpest tool in the shed. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you've ever been curious as to what I look like in real life, then follow me on Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT with underscores instead of spaces. I also have a Twitter at YT_chills where I post video updates. I'd really appreciate it if you followed me, and feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions or suggestions. If you'd like to see more of these videos in the future, then hit that subscribe button because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Number 1, the latest creep. Tad Cummings, a former health teacher in Tennessee, recently abducted Elizabeth Thomas, putting into effect a nationwide manhunt for the pair. The 50-year-old is said to have groomed his 15-year-old student, earning her trust. They vanished on March 13th. Elizabeth, who was interested in medicine, looked to her health teacher as a mentor. It just so happened that she wanted to do the things he claimed he did, so she probably idolized him. Elizabeth's sister, Sarah, said he took that interest to kind of manipulate, to gain control over her, to gain her favor. But in January, it was reported to authorities that Cummings had kissed Thomas on school property. Cummings was then fired. Although Elizabeth's father confronted her about the alleged physical contact, she denied it. However, it was increasingly clear that Cummings had some command over Thomas. He pretty much controlled every aspect of what she believed she could do and couldn't do. James Thomas, Elizabeth's brother, said, "That to me is terrifying, that he had that much control over her without anyone knowing." In March, he abducted Thomas and is believed to have taken her to live off the grid. His computer search history indicates that he searched for teen marriage. The story is unfolding as this goes to print. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy!